Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album. And today I'm going to finally get around to Paul Stanley, Star Child, his solo album from 1978. And I got a lot to get to. So I'm gonna start right away before I get to the track by track. Many things to talk about. This might be a little bit long. Mike Pratt, I think, is the only person who's happy about that. So I'm not even sure where to begin. This might be a little bit even more all over the place than normal because I put zero effort into these. I just kind of stand in front of the camera and talk about things as they come to mind. So I'm not sure where to start, but I'll start with, I think I talked about this when I talked about Gene's and Peter's and Ace's solo albums, Peter being the worst album ever created in the history of music. We call them solo albums, but really they're not. To me, they are Kiss albums. They say Kiss on them. They've got, the Kiss faces, the Kiss makeup. They were marketed as Kiss albums. So to me, they're Kiss albums. And I went in my list, I did a Kiss, remember my ranking of the Kiss albums was official. All the other ones you'll see on YouTube or elsewhere are just, they're nonsense. Mine was official. And I checked my rankings and I had this one, Paul Stanley, 12 out of 24. Yes, I included the solo albums. Solo albums, I'm not going to keep doing this. The solo albums I had listed, I had in my ranking. Paul Stanley's was 12. I just checked it a minute ago before I started just to make sure. And I had the first 6 above it, but I also had directly above it at 11, Revenge, and 10, Unmasked, or the other way around, I think. Yeah. Anyway, this could even be a little bit higher. It is my third favorite of the 4 solo albums. Peter Criss's being the worst album ever created is number 4 of the solo albums. I like this album kind of more than I remembered. It's not that I don't like it. I just kind of, I don't know, for me it's kind of the forgotten one. It was the last one I got. I got Gene's and Ace's. As far as I remember, around the time they came out, I seem to remember they were pretty new at the time. Peter's I got a short time after that. For whatever reasons, I didn't get Paul's until, it was in the 80s, I guess. Maybe it could have even been as late as 1985. I'm not sure. So maybe that was why. But I do like this album, and I hadn't listened to the full record in quite a long time. So maybe that was why I liked it too. And also, just like with the other ones, except Peter Criss's, which is the worst album of all time, because they never really played these songs live. They played one song each on the Dynasty tour. So we never really had a chance to get sick of them. Before I get to that, I said I have a lot of things to talk about. I think I never showed this. I got this at El Chopo months and months ago, and I think I never showed it because I kind of had it here with the records I'm going to talk about, and I'd forgotten about it. This is a cool Kiss 7-inch of Talk to Me with a horrible reversed image, as you can always tell by Star Child, by his eye being on the wrong side. And it's Talk to Me and Naked City. And you can tell this is German because it's got the funny Kiss logo. And there it is. This was pretty cheap, I guess. I think it was like 100 pesos for sure. I know in the US, if you find these things, they'd probably be 50 cents or something. But in Mexico, people are a little bit crazy about their prices. So I thought I would show that. I got a couple of other things to show. I think I did show this in another episode. I remember I showed it in one of the live streams I did. And I finished this, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago. And oh my God, look at how thick it is. This is like 600 pages. How many pages is this? 545 pages. I'm not sure if the Kiss solo albums need 545 pages dedicated to them, especially Peter Criss's, which is the worst album ever created. But for any Kiss fans, you maybe already know about this, but oh my God, it's exhaustive. Some parts of it were really cool. Some parts of it were just unbelievably just unnecessary. But overall, it says a detailed exploration of the 1978 Kiss solo albums. And that is true. It is very true. It's written by Julian Gill. You probably know him if you're a real Kiss nerd. He's a kind of a Kiss historian. And this is for the hardcore fans. If you're a casual fan, don't even think about buying this book. It got a little bit tedious to read at some points. This has got interviews with every single person involved in the making and the creation and the marketing and everything of these solo albums. Some of it is really cool. Some of it is just like I said, tedious and not interesting. But I'm glad that I read it because it was more good than bad for sure. So there was that too. Now my Paul Stanley concert history. This is not exactly, it wasn't a tour for this album, obviously, but I did see Paul Stanley on his 1989 solo tour. I think he only did about 15 shows. This was March 6, 1989 at Rock and Roll Heaven in Toronto, which is one of my favorite venues ever. God, I love that place. And what a thrill it was to see Paul Stanley. I had just turned 19 a few months earlier, and the drinking age again was 19. I think I saw, this might have been the second, I think I saw Bullet Boys the month before when I had just turned 19. I think that was in February '89. And so that was that. And it was Bob Kulick was playing guitar for Paul Stanley's band at that time. Eric Singer was on the drums, and I don't know who else was. I don't know who was on bass, or I think he had a keyboard player too. But I remember he did some pretty cool songs. I think he did. And at that time, Kiss had dropped a lot of these songs that Paul Stanley did. They brought them back on the following tour on Hot in the Shade. But I think he did I Want You, and I know for sure he did I Stole Your Love. What else did he do? The ones you expect. I'm sure he did Love Gun and Detroit Rock City. But I really loved this show. And I saw this show with Brian Vollmer. If anybody knows Helix, the singer of Helix was Brian Vollmer. I didn't see it with him. I didn't go to his house and pick him up and go there with him. But I was standing there kind of beside the stage, and it was a very small place, Rock and Roll Heaven. And Brian Vollmer, singer of Helix, came up to me, and I guess there were I think maybe 1, 2, 3 kind of benches, but for standing right beside the stage. And he came up and he said, "Hey, can I? Is there room here? Can I stand here?" I said, "Oh, Brian Vollmer, sure, come on up." So so Brian Vollmer was behind me. That's another thing I remember about that concert. And I bought the shirt. It had, I guess it said Paul Stanley. I don't remember the front. I remember the back said, "I had a one-night stand." Now, that's how Paul Stanley was at the time. I remember he has another shirt. Maybe it's a Kiss shirt. So terrible. It says on the back something like, "Life is like sex. The more you put in, the more you get out of it." Something like that. Just awful. But Paul Stanley. I had a one-night stand with Paul Stanley on his tour. A couple of other things. I've got 2 copies of it. And I can kind of explain why. I'm not sure why, because I got them both. I got the first one maybe 6-7 months ago, and the other one maybe shortly after that. And I kind of cobbled them together. So I've got this one, at least outwardly, looks a little bit better. You can see it's this has some wear on the spine. It's a cutout. It's missing the corner. The back is a little bit beat up. This one has a nicer cover. It's just a little cleaner. So let me see if I can remember. I know I bought one of them at El Chopo. And I think I bought one of them at no, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. And it didn't have the poster, and it didn't have the order form. The order form is almost impossible to find. The original order form for the merch that each guy had them in their album at the time, including Peter Criss, the worst album ever made. And then sometime later, I also got Jeans around the same time, which was in really bad shape and also with no poster. And then on eBay, sometime after I bought them, I found a guy from Montreal who kind of funny. I'm from Montreal. I wonder if the albums that he sold me ended up, that maybe they were my original albums. He had a lot. He was selling 2 together, Paul's and Jeans, and I think I ended up with 3 of Jeans. When I talked about Jeans album 6 or 8 months ago, I talked about it. I don't remember why. But I ended up getting 1 poster. Now I got Peter Criss's album like a year ago, which is the worst album ever created in the history of music. And what was kind of strange was Peter Criss's album had the Paul Stanley merch order form. I don't know why. So between the 2 of them here, I cobbled together one good one. So this one, the one that's a little bit more beat up, it doesn't, I think another reason why, it didn't have the sleeve. And the sleeve was cool. It had the 4 faces of them. And so it does have the, the record, and and I'm not sure if this was the record that came from that or the sleeve. They're all Frankensteined together. So this is the one that is pretty much complete and in the best shape in terms of the cover and the record. And I will open it now, and there are 3 things to show, I think. Yeah. So it's got, I'll start with the record. So there, it does have the sleeve, which it's cool. I know, what are you going to do? You pull it out and you look at it and you go, oh, cool. And when you're listening to it, who cares? But I wanted the sleeve. And there's the record. Yeah, man, there was nothing like seeing that Casablanca logo on these records. Here's the merch order form, which is pretty cool to have. And remember, this was in the Peter Criss one. So this is all Paul Stanley merch. Well, there's one. I mean, you got the 4 solo albums there, and the poster here, but everything else is it's Paul only. What is there? There's a Paul Stanley poster, a button, a belt buckle, a keychain, and a necklace. And a form to if you wanted to join the Kiss Army, which I never did. I was never in the Kiss Army at any point. So there's the order form and the poster. And the poster is in decent shape, I guess. It's got a little bit of tape on it and one hole in it, but it's okay. And this was the Canadian one. Now, I have a friend called Dwayne. He's American, and he's a real big, huge, massive Kiss collector of vinyl anyway. And I remember he posted, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, of some pictures of the posters, and they had the jigsaw, the puzzles. It was like a jigsaw puzzle when you put the 4 of them together. And I asked him, I said, did it always have that? I swear I didn't remember mine ever having that. And he said, yeah, they all did. And then I only found out later that the Canadian versions, and I think only the Canadian versions, did not have, were not a jigsaw, which I like much better, because really, who's going to put the 4 of them together? That's silly. So this one doesn't have the notches from the jigsaw, which I like. And it doesn't matter, because, I bought this 6 months ago or something, and I haven't taken it out, and I don't know when I'll take it out again. So there it is. Let me, I shouldn't be so rude as to turn my back on you, the loyal viewers. Mike Pratt. Did I get everything back in there? I'll sort it out later. So I think that's enough. I think I can get to the track by track now. This is, I think, it's for sure. I think it's not even up for debate. The most Kiss sounding of the solo albums. Peter Criss's being the least Kiss, also the worst album ever created in the history of music. Jeans is my favorite for sure. Jeans might be my favorite Kiss album out of all of them. Out of 24, I could make a strong case for Jeans being number 1. Gene, there were some moments that were like Kiss. Ace, I guess Ace was pretty hard rock, but not necessarily Kiss, because at that point Ace had only sang one song. So Kiss was, Gene and Paul. You associate the music mostly with the vocals. So since Paul was singing this, and these songs are pretty, quite reminiscent of Kiss, especially, I would say, well, I'll get to that when I do the track by track. But yeah, I think this is, it's understandable. It's not my favorite of the solo albums. It's number 3 out of the 4. But I can very, very, put that aside, and I can very easily see that some people would put this as number 1. Although I think the general consensus is that Ace is number 1. For me, it's Gene, Ace, Peter, Paul, Peter. God. All right, so getting through this track by track. So the first song is Tonight You Belong to Me. This is one that I was just kind of stammering over. This was a pretty clear indication of what was to come on Dynasty. Tonight You Belong to Me, that, it's got that acoustic guitar intro, and I do have another prop here that I'll get to in this song. So Tonight You Belong to Me, it's got that acoustic guitar intro. And then, as Paul Stanley himself likes to say in MTV Unplugged, Rock Bottom, Now It Gets Rough, and then it gets rough. Tonight You Belong to Me. That's really Sure Know Something. No, it's pretty much the exact same thing. I think it's got the same vibe as Tonight You Belong to Me has the same vibe as Sure Know Something and even Magic Touch. You could kind of see where Kiss was going with this record. Now, something else about Tonight You Belong to Me. The very first episode I ever did of this series was by a band called Phantom 78. And if you don't know what it is, and here's the record or the CD here. Sorry, Classic 78. The album is called Phantoms. The band is called Classic 78. And if you don't know this, it's not a Kiss cover band. It's, I guess, kind of like a tribute to Kiss, but kind of, I mean, you can see it's got, all their classic instruments. It's got the roller coaster from Phantom of the Park, and it's got Gene's, I know he had a name for this, the dragon on the side of the stage. And it's Kiss. It's their original songs. These guys wrote and performed all the songs, but they were written in the spirit of this era of Kiss, mid to late 70s Kiss. And it's really, really good. When I first heard it, I kind of dismissed it very easily, which was silly of me, but I really like it. This is one of my favorite albums, of the last, I don't know how many years. I couldn't get enough of this album. It came out about 2 years ago. And oh my God, I just loved it. And the first song on this is called Show Me Your Love. And you can go back if you want and find episode 1 of this series. I want to talk about this album where I did this. Show Me Your Love is clearly, it's not a rip-off because they're not ripping off. I guess they're kind of paying homage to Kiss. And it's like a tribute to Kiss. And they clearly, Show Me Your Love also has a little bit of I Stole Your Love too. The intro of Show Me Your Love is like the intro of Tonight You Belong to Me. And then when it gets rough, that's like I Stole Your Love. All right? And I think if I can remember, I'm going to reference this one more time. What's next? Move On? Yeah, Move On is next. This was the one that they played live on the Dynasty Tour. Each one of the members had one of their solo songs that they played on the Dynasty Tour. Paul did Move On. When I was just a baby, Mama sat me on her knee. She told me, boy, you listen, there's a lot you ought to see. A lot of pretty women going to try to tie you down. You don't know what you're missing if you never look around. Move on. That's what she told me. Move on. Yeah. That's an excellent song. And did I say how much I love Tonight You Belong to Me? There's not one song on this album that I don't like. It is a very good album. But yeah, Move On is really good too. Really kind of up-tempo. Next is Ain't Quite Right. A little bit, it's not really ballady. It's kind of quiet a little bit, but also a good song. Girl, You Gave Me Good Love, but it ain't quite right. Next is Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? I should mention right away. Jason McMaster, friend of the show. Jason McMaster, who's been on the show 3 times. He plays in obviously Dangerous Toys and Broken Teeth, Igniter, Godzilla Motor Company, Evil United. He plays in a Kiss, or played, I'm not even sure what bands he's in these days. He played in a Kiss cover band called Sick, which was Kiss backwards. He played in an Aerosmith cover band called De Niro Smith, like Robert De Niro Smith. And he has another band, I guess his most recent band, called Cassius King. And they did a cover of Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, which is fantastic. So if you like Jason McMaster, you should first of all go check out Cassius King and specifically look for or listen for his cover of, or their cover of Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, because it's really, really good. And I really like this song too, Wouldn't You? It's very catchy. Would have been great on any Kiss album. Wouldn't you like to know me? Wouldn't you like to show me you care? Let's go. And then the solo, excellent song. Next is Take Me Away, parentheses together as one. You know what? This song originally was called Calgon, Take Me Away, parentheses. Instead of Take Me Away, parentheses together as one, it was Calgon, parentheses, Take Me Away. I think that's true. And this one is another little bit of not quite ballad. Actually, you know what? This one reminds me of, and I never thought of this, or this never came to me in all these years or decades until I listened to it today. This has a little bit. I'm not comparing them to them, this gave me a few touches of a few reminders of Led Zeppelin. The drums, just the overall feel of it, the acoustic guitar. It's a little bit kind of a big dramatic song. This one I didn't like way back then. I liked it much more now. Take Me Away, parentheses, together as one. And on the second side is It's All Right. And I said I was gonna reference the classic 78 album again, Phantoms, there it is. There's a song on here called Living Fantasy, which is even more of, and again, not a rip-off, but very, very, very obvious inspiration in what they're going for. What was the song? Oh, Living Fantasy. Parentheses, Tonight. They clearly had It's All Right in mind when they wrote the song. Especially the drums. Charlie Benante plays drums in classic 78, and that's the biggest nod to another song you'll ever hear. And that might be my favorite on Phantoms. I really like that song. Come Over Here. That's Paul Stanley in It's All Right. Come Over Here. Classic Paul Stanley voice. Love that song too. And next is Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart. Actually, it's Hold Me, comma, Touch Me, parentheses, Think of Me When We're Apart. That's far, far, far too long a song title. Just call it Hold Me, Touch Me. Forget about the comma, forget about the parentheses. You don't just put the rest of the lyrics in the song title. It's not Rock and Roll All Night, parentheses, and Party Every Day. It's not, parentheses, You Gotta Lose Your Mind in, and then Detroit Rock City. It should be just Hold Me, Touch Me. That's it. I don't have time to say Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart. Just leave it at Hold Me, Touch Me. And I know a lot of Kiss fans don't like this song. It's clearly the standout on this album, not necessarily in a good way or bad way, but it's the least rock song. It's ballady, it's kind of sappy, and I can understand why people don't like it. I like it. It's not my favorite. It might even be my least favorite. But I do like it. I don't really have a problem with Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart, except that it takes me all day to say that title. Next is Love in Chains. This is another really hard, this is the most hard rock song on this record. Could have easily, more than I think any of the other songs, been on Love Gun or Rock and Roll Over, or maybe not Destroyer, but any of those Kiss songs. What song am I talking about? Love in Chains could have been on there. Is that what it was? Love in Chains? Yeah, it's got that yeah, good song, Love in Chains. And then the last song, this is maybe my favorite. This is Goodbye. Great vocal on this one too. This also could have been a Kiss song. Maybe could have been done well on Dynasty. I think this album kind of bridged the gap between, and I know it did in terms of the timeline, but I think also musically between Love Gun and Dynasty. And Goodbye, yeah, I didn't think about that or talk about that. My favorite song, yeah, I don't know, Goodbye. It's All Right, Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, Tonight You Belong to Me. One of those is my favorites. Yeah. There it is. It's Paul Stanley. It's double Paul Stanley. And does anybody remember the Kiss tribute band from the late 90s or early 2000s called the Paul Stanleys, where they all four guys dressed up as Paul Stanley? That was silly, but pretty funny. Yeah, a good Kiss album. Not number 12, maybe even 11 or 10 in my official Kiss rankings. So that's all I have. This is the end of the Kiss. I think I've said this before, and then I kept getting more. There are no more Kiss studio albums to do, no more compilations to do. I've done Double Platinum and Smashes, Thrashes, Hits. I've done... No, I am missing Sonic Boom, although I have no hopes of getting that. I know that's pretty much impossible to find. So unless somebody gifts that to me, if they have an extra copy and it shows up somewhere, or if, I doubt that I'll see it somewhere. But if I do find Sonic Boom, that will be the last one, but that's not going to be for a long time, I think. There is one more Kiss record that I have to do. Mike Pratt knows what it is because I gave a spoiler alert a couple of months ago. I showed it, and I'll do that at some point. But until then, these are Paul Stanley's 1978 Kiss solo album.